building up a platform where hope can
Welcome
be
to the
seen.
Nikki Clarke Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nikki Clarke, and I am thrilled to be back here with another stellar interview. The Nikki Clarke Show is a place where we celebrate inspiring stories, extraordinary people, and conversations that transform lives one story at a time. And we've been doing this for 17 years, and I absolutely love it. Today's guest is Elaine Sanchez. She is the founder of Caregiver Help, an award-winning author, a speaker, and nationally recognized caregiver educator. For more than 2 decades, Elaine has been empowering family caregivers with practical tools, heartfelt encouragement, and proven strategies to navigate one of life's most challenging journeys. She's also the author of Letters from Madeline, Chronicles of a Caregiver, a deeply moving book inspired by the letters of her mother, wrote while caring for Elaine's father after he suffered a devastating stroke. And those personal experiences became the foundation for her life's mission to replace isolation with hope, resilience, education, and community for caregivers around the world. Welcome, Elaine.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Nikki. I'm honored to be here. So much
Awesome.
fun. And congratulations on 17 years of telling great
Oh,
stories.
you know what? It's been such I say it's a privilege for me.
Yes.
And thank
Yes.
you so much. It's been so much fun. All right, Elaine, let's get to know you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Oh boy, this is, I try to not take too long. My journey into this work began after I took an early retirement from being a sales manager for network television affiliates. And my mother had written letters to me during the 7 years almost that she cared for my dad following his debilitating stroke. And her letters were so meaningful. And she just disengaged her emotional monitor and wrote exactly about what was happening, how she was feeling. And there was always something that made me laugh, something that made me cry, and something that made me think there was some kind of universal truth or nugget in there that I just wanted to share. So I saved her letters. She died in 2002. And then 2 years later, I was asked to speak at our church about mother-daughter relationships. And I went out to the garage, took down a moving box. My husband had labeled Letters from Madeline. I found one letter in particular that I wanted to share. I read a couple of excerpts, told a few stories, and people came up to me afterward and said, "You have to write a book." And so I did. And I found an agent that loved it, but at that time there was no interest in caregiving. And so I decided to self-publish it, which I did. And then I had a basement full of books, and I had to figure out a way to sell them. So I joined the National Speakers Association, learned how to develop a speaking business, and I started talking to people about my mother's journey. And it evolved into workshops, and we really recognized that people needed help
Mhm.
managing this emotional stress. My husband had cared for his first wife through her terminal illness with lung cancer. He cared for his mother-in-law until she died. He helped me care for my parents. And so this was, he was really involved and very supportive in me building this to help other people. So for 10 years, from 2010 to 2019, or through 19, I spoke at healthcare and caregiving conferences across the US. COVID hit, all of the conferences canceled, and so I had a video production studio built in a spare room in the basement of our house, and I started speaking virtually. And then it it's hard to say that COVID was a blessing, but I
Mhm.
think COVID really launched a lot of us into being more accessible to people who really need to hear messages. And so Zoom was pretty new. And it turned out that I could reach people regardless of their geography with our caregiver support group program. And so that's what we've been doing.
I love it. I love it. So your mother's letters shaped both your life and your mission.
Yes,
I love what.
absolutely. And they have inspired so many other people because the letters were unflinchingly honest and they were really funny sometimes. And people often say, I think what Madeline says, but I never have the courage to say it out loud. And
Mm,
I think that her honesty and her vulnerability allows other people to recognize that they are not bad people for having some really difficult feelings that come along with caregiving.
absolutely. Absolutely. Would you happen to have an excerpt of one of the letters with you?
Well, I could tell you, this is the story that I told at church, and she had just finished reading Dr. Wayne Dyer's book, Your Erroneous Zones, and she was furious. And she said, I
Mm,
just hate it. I think he doesn't recognize that there are two genders. Seems to me he only thinks of the male. And the second thing is he just keeps pounding away at this idea that a person should do or a man should do whatever he wants to do. And she said, as an old
mhm.
lady, I am here to tell anyone who will listen that once you get married and have children, your time of living your life for yourself is over forever. And she said, thank goodness I have learned how to find my own peace and happiness from within. Because to tell you the truth, I can't think of anything that's all that exciting or invigorating about getting up in the morning and fixing breakfast and doing the dishes and starting a load of laundry and helping your father and picking up the house and then going back and fixing lunch, doing dishes, doing more laundry, more housework, and helping your father. And she said, for
Mhm.
me, an exciting day might consist of having an interesting telephone conversation or possibly running into somebody I know in the grocery store or on the street. And she said, and for this, I should take vitamins. I should eat right and exercise so I can prolong this wonderful life experience. And she said, no, no, no. My joy in life comes from learning and growing mentally and spiritually. And the thing that I have found about having my own peace and happiness from within is that I can stay more or less emotionally and mentally detached and still do what has to be done to give other people a reasonable amount of happiness. So that is a typical letter from my mother that she would rant sometimes, and then uh, she would figure out how to manage this. And it evolved into what this detached attitude evolved into an attitude of creative indifference. And that's
Mm,
become the foundation of our support group program. And the first step is to become aware of the people, the situations, or events that are causing you to have stress. And I encourage people to write them down because there's nothing that's any more effective in my mind than sitting down and writing about it. You can think about it, you can talk about it, but putting it on paper or typing it into your device can really help you release that emotional attachment to it. Then the second step is acceptance. And this is where caregivers have to accept that you cannot control the disease, you can't control the progression or the outcome, you cannot control the behavior of other people. And then the third
mhm.
step is action. So you look at the situation and you say, is there anything that I can do to change, influence, or control it? Can I make it better? And if there is, that's wonderful. It's amazing. Make a plan, execute the plan. More often than not, there's nothing you can do to change it, fix it, or make it better, especially if it's something like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. And then we help people figure out, okay, so how do you develop an attitude of creative indifference to the things that are so incredibly hard and heartbreaking? And we have found after doing this for so many years that it really does help. It doesn't
Yes.
change the situation necessarily, but we can help people learn how to manage their attitude so that they can control their responses to these really difficult circumstances.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
What lessons did caregiving teach you about love, resilience, and family?
it's hard. It's heartbreaking. Um, and I would say that not all families are created equally. Not all siblings share the load equally. That it is a gift of love, and it is a gift that really needs to be appreciated and recognized. And I think that so many caregivers do this silently, and a lot of them don't even recognize that they are caregivers. And it we know that it has a tremendous impact on working caregivers, and that you know it's 1 in 4, I believe 1 in 4 employees is a family caregiver. 80% of these people express having stress over trying to care for their family member and maintain their work. It's the number 2 reason that employees leave their jobs in the United States. I don't know what the statistics are for Canada, where you are, but there comes a point that a person can only handle so much. You know, the demands of caregiving and trying to be stable at work. And it's difficult too for HR departments, because if you go into an HR department and you tell them that you need to take time off to take care of your mother, they'll often say, I can't know this. I just need to know that what time, when you're going to be gone. I can't know the personal story behind this. That's private information. So people have a hard time, a lot of times, finding a place that is safe to share their story, and where people will really understand the impact that it has on your life.
I love that. Thank you. What practical advice would you offer someone who has just become a caregiver?
Find a group, find a caregiving buddy. Don't try to do this without help. Um, when you just first become a caregiver, okay, the first thing I would say is learn everything you can about their condition. If it is an illness like Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, get the information from the Alzheimer's Foundation. Parkinson's has wonderful support groups for families and really good information. Learn everything that you can, because the person you're taking care of is going to change, and their behavior and their abilities are going to be very different from what they were when they were healthy. And if you understand where this behavior is coming from, it's going to be easier to manage, rather than thinking they're just trying to aggravate you or irritate you, or they're just being stubborn, or they're just, people don't, if you don't know the cause of the behavior and the reason that they are dropping things or falling, or don't smile at you when you walk through the door. If you don't know that that's because their muscles are frozen from, from Parkinson's, then you don't understand. And then that can create a lot of tension and conflict within the relationship. So I say, first of all, learn what you can about the disease, and then put yourself in a place that you can talk to other people who are caring for someone with something similar. Because every caregiver who really does this from their heart wants to be loving, kind, supportive. Um, they really do. And they get pushed to absolute exhaustion and fatigue, and they lose it. And then they feel like they're a bad person. So if they have someone else that they can talk to that says, "Yeah, I know exactly how you feel," and they can let it out and have a place to feel like these feelings are normal and I'm not a bad person, it really helps.
Absolutely. What role does community play in preventing caregiver burnout?
I think it can be a large I think it can be really, really helpful. And when you say community, I am thinking a community of caregivers, not the community at large, because someone whose children are all healthy, whose husband is in good shape, who has no financial stress, they are not going to understand why you are feeling the way
Mhm.
you are. My
Yes.
mother wrote one letter and she said, um, my dad was having issues with his depends and with, not wetting the bed every night. And one night she had changed the sheets 3 times and she got him up, got him changed and into dry pajamas, and she flipped the mattress, she remade the bed, and then she pulled up the bed rail and she got right up next to him and she said, "Quentin, if I see you sitting on the side of the bed again, I am going to take a belt to you."
Mm.
And and then that scared her. And she said, I've never hurt him and I don't want to. But that night I felt like it. I really felt like it. And if you're telling that to a friend whose life is going great, she's going to look at you, or he's going to look at you like, "Whoa, you're pretty scary." I think, ugh. Instead of saying, "Oh, yeah, that's hard. I know." And
Mhm.
good for you. You let him know that you were angry, and I'm sure it hurt his feelings, and I'm sorry for that. But being able to say it may have kept you from doing it. I mean, you just need somebody who understands. You nod your head like you know.
Yes, I do know. I do know.
Yeah.
To share that my grandmother passed just about a little over a year ago, but my mother
Hmm.
was the main caregiver.
Oh, yeah.
And um, my mother also needed a caregiver for her own battle
Yes.
breast cancer, so
Yes.
there is so many levels to um, being able to be present and supportive.
Yes.
But yeah, sometimes you have to take stock of your own well-being as well.
Yes.
And just, there's
Yes.
only so much I can take before you get to that point of, the
That's right.
outbursts. It's
Yes.
so normal.
It is.
We all reach a threshold of what we can manage.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about caregiver help and how it
Yes.
continues to make a difference.
It's really quite wonderful the way that it has worked, because we have been able to go through this process with some of the people in our support group are now in their 5th year, and they
Mhm.
started when their husbands were they had been diagnosed, they had been living with this for a while, and then we went through the progression of the disease with them. And within the past 2 years, a lot of them died.
Wow.
And so we looked at it and said, we need to start a program for life after caregiving, aging
Mhm.
solo. So the first part of the program, we deal with anger, fear, frustration, fatigue, guilt, depression, grief. We have a module that's called Ducks in a Row. That's all about getting prepared to take over the care of someone if they become incapacitated. The end of life documents that you have to have in place. We have two modules on Alzheimer's, on dementia care, and how you care for a person with dementia. We talk about stress, triggers, sundowning, and was surprising if people don't know about it. Inappropriate sexual behavior, dementia-related sexual behavior. It's really hard and it's embarrassing for a lot of people, but they need to know that it's a real thing. So, and then we have a module on self-care. So there are 10 modules and a lot of information, a lot of stories in it. And then we just started this new program on life after caregiving. And so I interviewed a certified financial planner and I said, okay, so let's go from your spouse has died. And let's talk about what happens, what you need to do the first 2 weeks. And then we went to 90 days. And then we talk about it's a series of podcasts. And then how do you go from we to me? And then how do you make sure that you are financially secure as you go along in your life as a single person? And who's going to take care of you when you reach the point that maybe you can't take care of yourself? And will you have enough money to get there? So those were really good interviews with her. And then I interviewed Dr. Joseph Kashiani, and he's a geropsychologist. And I said, now take us through the emotional transition from losing your spouse to going through this whole transition phase and into a life that can be joyful and happy and independent. That you can, how do you move through the grief and go through these stages? So I think they're just wonderful. And now my next one, I'm going to be talking about how to care for children with developmental disabilities and working with a man who's worked with families who have disabled children for more than 40 years. So these things are outside of my area of expertise, but as you know, you can find people who do have expertise on these difficult topics.
Yeah, excellent. Are there any other upcoming projects that we should know about?
I think that is, we are always evolving. And we are always looking for different ways to connect with people. Right now, we think it is through Zoom or Teams, something like that. My daughter, I forgot to mention her. How could I have forgotten that? She joined me a year ago, and she is the third generation in this caregiving family. So she brings a totally new and fresh perspective because she's a Gen Xer and she worked in the employment department for the state of Oregon. And right when COVID hit, she was hired to help them bring on, I think it was 1,200 people in a very short period of time and create teams and training and create a new system to help people who were unemployed get their checks. And so her
Mhm.
experience and her perspective is it's so different from mine. We have the same heart, but the way she approaches it and writes about it is totally unique. So yes, we do have, we're hoping that we can reach out to the caregivers who are now younger. When I started, it was
Mhm.
baby boomers taking care of the greatest generation. And now most of those people have passed on,
Right.
and people who are in my age group are now needing, a lot of us are needing our children to help us. And so this is, there are
Right.
some real generational differences. So that's the big change moving forward, is that I would eventually like for Annie to become the face and the voice of Caregiver Help. And we've been working together for a year, and she's just marvelous. And so that's, and she has all of the skills and the ability to do that.
Fantastic. All right. We are reaching the close of our amazing conversation, and I'd like to ask you some rapid fire questions. So
Okay.
answer with one word or just a few words.
Okay.
One word that describes your mission.
Heart.
What's one habit that keeps you grounded?
Walking.
A book that has inspired you.
Oh, The Moment of Lift with Melinda, written by Melinda Gates.
Who has had the greatest influence on your life?
My mother.
What does success mean to you today?
I want to reach millions of caregivers who need a place to come to get through a difficult day or a sleepless night. And that's what I want Caregiver Help to be.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. If you could leave our viewers with one message for caregivers who may be feeling overwhelmed or alone, what would it be?
You are not alone. This is an incredible gift of generosity. It's also the hardest thing you will ever do. Be kind to yourself. Cut yourself a lot of slack. Yeah. And love yourself as you are going through this. Forgive yourself quickly. Oh, I have so many things I want to tell them. What's
But
the
those are
one thing? Yeah, you're not alone. I think that's it. You are not alone.
okay. Thank you so
And
much
there's help.
for
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Those are
you.
beautiful pearls of wisdom. I so appreciate your time with us. Elaine Sanchez, founder of Caregiver Help. Where can people find you on social media?
Our website is caregiverhelp.com. That's a good place to start. We have two YouTube channels. One is Caregiver Help, and the other one is Elaine K. Sanchez. So there's some similar videos on both. We have a Caregiver Help Thought of the Day on the Caregiver Help YouTube. These are like 1 minute messages. So if somebody just needs a quick hit, something to lift their spirits, they can go there. We have sample videos from the program on the Elaine K. Sanchez site. We're on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and Annie is doing all of that because I don't do social media well. And that's 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 a real gift that she's helping us get found.
I love it. Thank you so much again.
Thank
It's
you.
been such a pleasure having you on the show. And, what you are sharing is so relatable for so many people who
Thank
have
you.
felt like they are not alone. So this message that they are part of a community and there is a trustworthy source such as yours where they can get the resources they need. So
Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate you.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Dr.
I hope to
Nikki.
have
I appreciate you too. Take care.
You're welcome. Right. Thank you so much for watching the Nikki Clarke Show with Elaine Sanchez. Please reach out to her on social media, support what she's doing, and if you need the resources, a beautiful place to stop. Thank you again. Be empowered, be inspired, be transformed, one story at a time. We'll see you next time. Bye. Bye for now.